Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Throws Show. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm your host today, Jason, here with Throws University High School coach, former Division I collegiate coach, and Olympic trials qualifier, Sam Weeks.
What it do?
And we are going to go over our predictions for this year's 2024 Paris Olympics in the throwing events. So, Sam and I talked before coming on today, and we decided, let's make a bit of a game of it. We're going to name each of our picks for the top medalists, and we're going to have a contest to see who can get the most correct athletes in terms of the placing of medals over the course of these Olympic Games. And we're going to total up with a scoreboard where if we can get the gold medalist correct, one of us gets 3 points, silver medalist 2 points, bronze medalist 1 point. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be recording multiple throw shows. It's going to take us over the course of the Olympic Games. As each throwing event happens, we'll give us our results, give you what we thought was going to happen and how it stacked up with what actually happened. But before we get into the actual predictions of this year's Olympics, we need to discuss the Diamond Leagues that have actually led up to the games to see how things may have changed, how our picks may have been affected going into the games, because we had the London Diamond League. We even had the Paris Diamond League. So what happened at those competitions that could potentially shake up the whole results of the Olympic Games? So let's get started. We're going to start with probably everyone's favorite event going on right now. It's the men's shot put at the London Diamond League only 1 week ago. And we're going to start off here. We got the third placer from the U.S. Olympic trials, Peyton Otterdahl, popping out a great 22-meter mark here in London.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, he's been proven to be consistent all year. This is clearly Peyton's best ever year. Like, he's throwing 22 meters not only in the U.S. consistently, but he's finally gone overseas, and he's competing with the big boys, hitting a big mark like this. What do you think this puts Peyton going into Paris?
Dude, Peyton is the dark horse. I feel like you said, he's been super consistent all year, and, you know, he's one of those athletes where, like, if you give him that chance, he will take it. So I think Peyton is going to perform extremely well, and let's see what he does.
Yeah, and then next up we have Krauser here. So interesting thing about this competition, I think everyone assumed now that Krauser made it to trials, he made it past, won a third trials going to his third Olympics. Everyone thought, he's back, man. No worries. Everything's Gucci. Ryan's just going to walk through everyone. Nah, bruh.
Didn't happen.
Comes into London, gets second.
Second place.
Second place, but still throwing super far over 22:30.
Yeah. This competition was not a typical Ryan Krauser competition. As you can see, he has 3 fouls, which we usually don't see. But like you said, he was able to hit that big toss. But unfortunately, it only got him silver. It got him second place. The next guy, you know, I think is the guy that, I don't want to say that nobody thought would do it, but definitely took us by surprise. And that's Fabbri right here.
Leonardo Fabbri coming out over 22:50 at the London Diamond League. Dude, he's so excited because he knows what it means. He just beat the world record holder, bro. Yeah. In Europe, going into a European Olympics.
Yeah, like I said, it was one of those things where it's like we're not surprised, but we were totally surprised, man. Like, you know, big props to him. Like, he's been killing it all year, and to do that right before the Olympics, kind of wild.
And one thing I want to point out before we move on from here, can we just, so we're forgetting Joe threw 22 meters in this competition and got fourth.
Fourth, dude.
We're in a time period in the men's shot put where 22 meters is getting you fourth place, bro.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You and I were in high school at the time. I don't know how much you were paying attention to professional shot put when we were in high school, but like you may have saw a 22-meter throw like once a year by like either Cantwell or Hoffa or Ryan Whiting. But, bro, now you have 4 people throwing 22 in the same meet.
It's the norm now.
And it's not even a world championship or Olympics.
Nope, it's the norm.
Bro, this is nuts. And one thing I want to say is, you know, there might be a decent amount of Fabbri haters as to why is he throwing so far now? We talked about this in the last episode. It was like there was a changing of the guard. There was changing, there was a winds of change just came over the event at the World Championships. First time Fabbri went over 22, and then it seems like he hasn't been looking back. Every meet since then has been at least high 21s, but mostly throwing over 22s and now pushing past high 22s, close to 23 meters. And one thing I want to just mention about that is how is it someone can make such a dramatic change? Throws coach at Southern Cal, Martin Marich, has this great video that we're looking at right now that highlights things that Fabbri's doing that no other thrower is doing, even someone like Krauser. That right there, what we're looking at, is a perfect finishing position with your feet in the release of the shot put. This was on his 22.95 throw. His feet don't leave the ground while the ball is in his hands.
He works a long double support using all the energy from the ground, and that just transfers up into his finish. Like as Jason noted, his right foot's still on the ground. Both feet are still on the ground as the ball is leaving his hand. So all of that energy is getting transferred up and into the finish, which, results in why he's been throwing so far. It's because he's in double support so long, just putting everything into that finish.
And for all high school throwers out there, with double support, that means you're on the ground applying force as long as possible off of 2 feet, meaning he is applying more force longer on the ball than almost any other thrower. And at someone who's 6'9", and the arm length that he has, that's why this guy can throw 75 feet. And that's probably why he's going to throw even further, potentially at the Olympics. So as we get into this, we also had the Paris Diamond League. Val coming out, winning another meet. Like we said this last time, she might be the most dominant thrower in the world right now. It's incredible watching Val throw. But also we had 2 girls from the Netherlands come out and get second and third in Alita Van Dalen, who's competing in the NCAA for Florida, and Jorinde Van Klinken. And Jorinde's been consistent all year. She's proven that she's like ready to compete with the, with the top dogs in the event. Throwing over 67 meters here. Like, it's incredible to see like her development as an athlete, going from throwing 70 meters one time in Tucson to like, she could be potentially in contention for a medal, as we see later when we go over our picks. But Val is just doing Val things, Sam.
It's Val, dude. Like, she's the GOAT. There's a statistic where it's like she has some of the top right here. She has 12 of the top U.S. discus marks. Like, that is an insane statistic. Like, Val is the best. And it's hard to argue against her. But it is good to see, other throwers like Van Klinken. Clinking. Oh man, I gotta work on that. But it is good to see other throwers kind of just go out there and do their thing and just compete, which is fun. It adds more to when we eventually make our way to the Olympics.
Other thing we wanted to add is at the London Diamond League, we had Mackenzie Little hit a new personal best in the women's javelin, over 66 meters. You want to see your best performances as you get close to the biggest meet of your life, that being the Olympic Games. And dude, a 66-meter throw, this is a mark that could potentially win the whole thing. So we need to keep track of these athletes, and it's clearly showing that she's in incredible shape. And again, when you're trying to put your bids in and your picks, you can't count out Mackenzie Little.
Yeah, you can't count her out. And like you said, this is the perfect timing, or nearly the perfect timing for a big PR. Like right before the Olympics. It's a good indicator that you're in shape, you're doing well, and it's like, all right, women's javelin's kind of up in the air right now to who can take it. And, for Mackenzie to come out here and do what she did right before, like I said, is a good indicator, to see if she wins a medal.
Dude, her run-up is so fast and, gosh, so explosive.
I
love watching the javelin. I don't know much about it, admittedly, but, like, it's one of the coolest events to watch.
Absolutely.
So we got some unfortunate news, but this is important as we lead into the games. Former world indoor champion Darlene Romani will unfortunately be missing it due to a hernia, and he's going to actually end up having surgery. One thing to keep in mind is when he won that world indoor title, he beat Krauser to win that. And he's, been a very consistent thrower over the, over 22 meters, over mid 22 meters. People often forget, like in 2019, he was hanging right there with him with the top dogs. Yes, third place was 22.90 by Tom Walsh, but Darlin also threw 22.50 in that competition. So it's like he's always been in the mix. You know, he finished fourth in Tokyo. Like, he could have been a huge player in the men's shot put competition, depending on what he threw that day. So, you know, all respect to Romani. You know, I hope he gets better soon, and I hope we see him in the next World Championship.
Absolutely. We wish you a speedy recovery.
And then just kind of a personal thing that I wanted to bring up that I think is just so cool. It's one of the coolest stats, I think, even in all of the Olympic Games, not just throwing, is we have Melina Robert-Michon, French discus thrower, going into her 7th and final Olympics in her home country of France. She competed at the 2000 Sydney Olympics. And I pressure people watching this video, go look up her name, Melina Robert-Michon, on YouTube, because the Olympics put together a phenomenal highlight video of her career leading up to the Tokyo Games, which is going to her 6th games then. And it basically shows her progress from a junior athlete all the way to getting a silver medal in 2016. So you got to think, it took her 5 Olympics to go from barely getting through not even getting through qualifying her first 2 meets to eventually becoming an Olympic medalist. And she's still around 8 years later, still throwing like 63 meters. So she's still a competitive athlete in her 40s. And she's going to finish out her career in her home country in her home Olympics. What do you think about that?
Melina is the definition of longevity. You know, it's incredible just to, you know, make 1 Olympics, and this is her 7th. You know, it's just like incredible to think of how much of a toll that is, you know, physically, mentally, just like everything put together. But, you know, here she is at her 7th, just, you know, doing it, you know, just putting everything into this last one, getting to, you know, finish off in her home country. It's just like insane.
Yeah, one thing to add, like, she's the flag bearer, man. Like, you know, as we're recording this right now, the opening ceremonies are going on right now. You get to see everyone sailing on the boats of the river leading into France. So that's got to be one of the coolest moments for the host country, and you get to be the bearer of the flag. Like, you can't think of a better way to end a career.
No.
Okay, so now we're going to finally get to the main part of the video. We're going to be going over our picks today. I got to sit right up because things are about to get serious. And we're going to start off with the women's discus thrower. You know, we already went over where Val's stats are right now. She's on her way to potentially being a GOAT. Again, that remains to be seen, because keep in mind, we have Sandra Elgasevich, and she's a 2-time Olympic champion.
That is true. She's still there.
We still, you know, pay some respects where they're due, right?
Oh, don't get me wrong. Sandra is the GOAT in her own respect. Like, she's earned it. Val is my GOAT.
Oh, okay then. So, just a kind of a brief overview of what we're looking at in the competition. Unfortunately, you're going to see 2 names that are being left off this list that could have been major players in the competition. Lagi Tasaga, reigning world champion from 23, did not make it past the Olympic trials in the United States, unfortunately fouling out in qualifying. So she will not be a player this time. And one that's personal between Sam and I, our teammate and garage strength athlete Jaime Perez. She will also not be competing for political reasons regarding her eligibility and the nation in which she can compete for. So you have the reigning world champion and the world leader who threw the farthest mark in 38 years, both not competing in this competition.
Yeah.
You know, how do you think that affects the field?
I mean, it makes it open. Even though, you know, Val is the dominant thrower, it just leaves, you know, it truly leaves it open, you know, for anyone to take it. Like, obviously, like, you got to show up when it matters most. Like, it doesn't matter, like, what you've done beforehand. It's like you got to show up on that day. But, you know, without Jaime there and without Lagi, it's anyone's game.
Yeah, 100%. So you got to keep in mind, we're missing 2 of the last 3 world champions from this event. You know, Jaime won in 2019 and Lagi won in 2023. But what we also have in the competition is Bin Fang, the 2022 world champion out of China. So we all know that she's been a player. She's been majorly competitive across the circuit the last few years. But I think it's important that we get into our picks, show them out right now. And again, as I said earlier, we have the great Sandra Elgasevich, 2-time Olympic champion. So she's also going to be a player in the field. But Sam, who are your picks for the women's discus?
So I'm gonna start with Val. I think she'll win gold. I think Ben Fang will win silver, and I think Sandra will take third and take bronze.
All previous world champions, Olympic champions. Those are good picks. The very, very, very reliable picks. So I think I went a little off. I think I have some hope for one specific individual in this comp. But similar to Sam, I think Val is just on fire right now. I don't see anyone being able to take her out. So she's my number one pick for gold. But I think Sandra still has it in her. I think she's proven that she still has more to give to the sport, more, high 60 to potentially 70-meter throws. So I think Sandra's going to get silver. I think she's going to compete well with Val, but I don't think she's in shape enough to actually take her on and win gold. But my third place is someone who is looking to get that first major medal in the Olympics, and that's Jorinde Van Klinken. I watched Jorinde through 70 meters for the first time in Tucson, Arizona a few years back, and she's just been so consistent the last, this whole year. I think this is the year that she's finally going to break through and, capture that medal.
That'd be huge.
Yeah.
That'd be huge.
And one thing we can't forget about with the women's discus is we have two garage strength athletes, both competing for Nigeria in the women's discus. We have Obi Amechi, who African Games champion, and we have the African record holders, Cece Onyekwere Lions, both competing. Shout out to you both. You guys are going to crush it. We can't wait to see you guys compete. And guys, don't be surprised if those two make the final and turn some heads.
Absolutely.
So next up, we have the men's discus, and this one is probably one of the biggest toss-ups of toss-ups because there's like 5 guys that could all just beat each other on the day, and it makes this one especially frustrating to try to make a pick for. We have Alekna. He broke the world record. Sam and I both saw that in person in Ramona, Oklahoma earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So we know he's in incredible shape. He's been throwing over 70 meters consistently in stadiums. We have Christian Che, the 2022 world champion. He threw 70 meters even last year in the world stadium. Only got second, but still, that's a testament to the shape that he can produce when it counts. Maddie Denny, probably one of the most, if not the most consistent throwers in the world right now. Hasn't thrown 70 yet, but when it counts, he performs.
He does. He performs.
Daniel Stahl, reigning world champion, probably has the farthest windless discus thrower of all time, potentially, in the world championships last year to win gold. Sam, who are you picking for your top picks? Oh, and before I get into that, all respect to Sam, is 2 of Garage Strength athletes are competing in this competition. We have Sam Mattis and we have Alex Rose out of Samoa competing. Alex went over 71 earlier this year, so he's in phenomenal shape, looking to do some damage. But Sam, what are your top picks for gold through bronze?
Okay, so my number one, I think we all kind of know. I'm going with Alekna. Like Jason said, we both saw him throw 74, and he's been super consistent this whole year. So it's hard to see that and not pick him. So he's my number one. My number 2 is Daniel Stahl. Just because it's Stahl, man. He's a gamer. He might not have the best stats during the regular season, but when it's championship season, that man is literally like the Michael Jordan of throwing. Like, he just comes and he just shows up. And then my third pick, this guy said I had small hands, which I disagree with, but I'm gonna go with Maddie Denny. He's been super, super consistent this whole season, and I feel like this will be the time where he gets to finally complete his story and bring home a medal.
So here's my question for you, Sam. What do you think is going to take to win? And here's another question. Does it take 70 to medal?
I think it's going to take at least 70 to get silver.
Okay.
At least silver.
Okay.
I think bronze is going to be a fight between a few athletes, but I feel like Denny's just going to pull through. I'm rooting for Denny, even though he called me. He said I had small hands. But I think silver and gold are going to be over 70.
Awesome. Good picks. So mine is pretty safe picks, to be honest, but maybe not in the placing that you'd think. So my take is going to be first place, Christian Che, I think he's going to get some revenge on Stahl after sniping him at the Worlds last year. Then I'm going to go second with Stahl. And Stahl, I just think you can't bet against him.
Mm-hmm.
When you think you have him and he could have a down year, he could have meets where he's getting 4th, 5th place throughout the year. When it's a world championship or Olympics, that man shows up.
He shows up.
He shows up every time. And my 3rd place, I watched the dude throw 74 meters. I can't deny he's been super consistent at high 60s to over 70 in stadium at these Diamond Leagues, so I'm going to go with Alekna. But my dark horse pick to win the whole thing is our boy Alex Rose.
Alex Rose. Now,
Oos.
J-Dog, how can you have Alekna so low on your list? What is your reason behind that?
This is going to sound a bit bizarre, even though it has nothing to do with world championships and Olympics. But my man has yet to win an NCAA title, and I can't help but mentally that weighs on me in terms of ability to compete and get it done when it matters. So
I just wanted to throw it out there.
Mad respect to Alekna, but I don't know, man. I'm waiting to see that NCAA title. I'm waiting for that college title. Like, come on, you're best of all time. Let's see it.
I love it.
So the next part we're going to get into is the women's hammer throw. And again, similar to the women's discus, this one is being shaken up by some big names that are not going to be competing. Unfortunately, Janae Casnavoid, multiple-time world championship medalist, and Brooke Anderson, world champion from 2022. They will not be representing the United States at the Olympics this year. They did not make it past the trials, unfortunately. So this kind of leaves the field a bit more wide open for potentially who's going to medal. We have Cameron Rogers, the reigning world champion. She's been in dominant form all year. We have Deanna Price, the second best all time, second to Anita Vladarchik. So we got some big names in here, and it'll be interesting to see like what'll happen, knowing that 2 of the big dogs won't be contesting for those medals. Sam, what are your picks for the women's hammer?
Okay, so to start my list, I'm going with the world champ. I'm going with Cameron Rogers. I feel like she has just been on a tear as of lately, and I can't put her any lower than number 1. My number 2 is Deanna Price. Deanna is a world champion, and I feel like she, typically shows up when it matters most. So I have her at second, and my number 3, my 3rd place is Annette. I was able to watch Annette compete. She went big on her first attempt at trials, and just proved to everyone there, like, hey, like I'm here to compete. I'm here to throw. And I feel like just making that statement there with such a dominant U.S. women's team is a big statement. So I feel like she's in the right, mindset. I feel like she's, in the perfect spot to prove something to the world.
Very, very good picks. So I can't deny those are all very safe bets. I think I might just change the order of the placing a bit. So for my picks, I think, like Sam said, Cameron's on fire. Like, she's so consistent right now, throwing over 77 meters, 78 meters. So I'm going to have her to take gold for Canada. And then second place, I think this is Annette's time to capture a medal. She was representing the United States at Worlds before. She won the Olympic trials. And oddly enough, she's the African record holder, which is very easy to forget sometimes. When she competed for Nigeria, she threw over 75 and has the African record. So it'd be very cool to see her finish that story, knowing she wasn't able to compete in the Olympics last time, unfortunately because of some bureaucratic errors on Nigeria's part. So knowing that she's going to come back, compete for the United States, which is considered a harder team to make, and then walk away with a medal. And then to finish that out, I think Deanna's one of the most consistent throwers of all time in the women's hammer, and I think she's been a safe pick for bronze. So now we'll get into the men's hammer. Some big names to talk about here is we have Ethan Katzberg. He's been the first man to throw over 84 meters since Koji Murafushi in the early 2000s. He's just been on fire, reigning world champion, just incredible athlete, super young, works with Dylan Armstrong, who's former Dr. Bondarchuk's athlete. So he comes from a great system. He's ready to compete and able to compete when he needs to at the big meets. But then we also got Wojciech Nowicki out of Poland. Reigning Olympic champion, one of the most consistent hammer throwers of the last 10 years. He always comes when it matters and has secured multiple medals at these major championships. He might not be hitting those higher end marks that Katzberg's hitting, but at the end of the day, that dude shows up when it matters. So you always need to keep in the back of your mind to be on the podium. And then, we have multiple time world champion Fajdek also competing, but he hasn't seemed to have been able to get it done at the Olympics. So that's something that I feel like you just need to keep in the back of your mind when you're making your picks this time around. But Sam, speaking of picks, what are your picks in the men's hammer?
Okay, so I think that they're going to do it again, and Canada is going to take the sweep. So I'm going with Ethan Katzberg as my number one. I think Nowitzki will take silver. He won the Olympic gold in Tokyo, so I can't put him any lower than number 2. And then my number 3, I watched this man throw 79 at the Olympic trials. I'm going with Danny Ha. I feel like Danny has, been really clicking as of lately. He went big, which was, I don't know if you guys know, but like the U.S. trials was stacked in the men's hammer, and, Danny walked away with that win. So I can only imagine like he's, clearly in shape. So I feel like he's going to finally put something together and take bronze.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, all those picks are great, so much so that I have the exact same lineup. So I can't really add much to what Sam's saying outside of like, dude, Katzberg is he's just doing Katzberg things, man. He's on fire. Nowitzki is just super reliable pick, just always showing up on podiums. And I think this is going to be the year that an American hammer thrower finally, gets on the podium. First one since Lance Deal in '96 in Atlanta. So it'd be awesome, just like, for American pride, and also like, Danny Ha, credible human being. If you ever have the chance to meet Daniel, go talk to him. Great guy. Even like his teammate Rudy Winkler, the American record holder. And that's the other thing is, like, to me, it's a toss up between Danny and Rudy.
Either one.
Either one could potentially get in that spot. I think they're almost equivalent in terms of their abilities of what their top end is. But I think it's interesting that both of us don't have Fajdek in, even though he's a 5-time world champion.
I really want to put him in my list, but honestly, I'd put him at bronze, but I'm going USA. I'm sorry. That's biased, but you know what? It is what it is.
We never claimed we weren't.
Dude.
So that's the men's hammer. Now we're going to move on to the women's javelin. And this is a very interesting event. This is probably the event where, when it comes to Sam and I trying to compete for who's going to, be walking away with the most points at the end of this series of videos, it is probably the biggest toss-up of who could get any medal in any position of all the events. Mm-hmm. Because you have so many women throwing over 64 meters, but not too many women that are hitting like that high-end 60 range. So you can't really put one like well above the rest like you can in some of the other events. So, we have reigning world champion Kitaguchi, Mackenzie Little, who we just saw earlier today, threw over 66 meters with the new personal best. We also have Maggie Malone, who threw out the Olympic trials. And, we just have all these women that could potentially be getting these medals in so many different positions. So, Sam, we'll have you lead off. Who are your picks for the women's javelin?
Absolutely. So, looking at the top 5 women, on our list or on this list right now, it was really tough kind of picking, my top 3. But, just looking at the statistics and just, previous results, I have Haruka taking gold. I feel like she is a thrower that you have to like try to put away like early, and then you have to, stay on top of your game. If you leave anything out there, she will snipe you, and she's done it multiple times. So I have her, probably on her last attempt winning it. For my second place for silver, I have Mackenzie Little. We talked about it earlier, going big, hitting that big toss right before the Olympics. It's clear indicator that she's in really good shape. For my third one, this was kind of a toss-up because, Flora Dennis, she went big earlier. Victoria Hudson, she went big early. But for my number 3, I'm going with Maggie Malone Hardin. I was fortunate to watch Maggie compete twice this year, and both times she was just calm, cool, collected, and she hit big tosses. So I'm going with Maggie for my third pick.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to choose. Him and I basically have very similar picks, just in different positions. I think, with the recent performance of Mackenzie Little, I think it seems like that she's clearly dialed into her technique. She's dialed into her, where she's at physically. I'm going to have her take the gold. I think this is going to be the year similar to what Kara Winger did in 2022, where she's got the silver medal. I think Maggie's going to reproduce that same level of performance, get the silver medal for the United States. And honestly, Haruka Kitaguchi has been such a consistent performer the last few years. I think you would be hard pressed not to put her in the medal contention, just because the consistency matters in these events. And if you want to be performing at a high level, you got to make sure you're hitting the right marks at the right time. So I'm going to put Haruka at bronze. So now we're going to move on to the men's javelin throw. And this is an interesting one because we have the reigning Olympic champion Chopra. Chopra has been super consistent over the last few years. We also have multiple-time world champion Anderson Peters in the mix. We have probably one of the most consistent throwers in the men's javelin over the last 15 years in Vadalich. And we even have returning Olympic champion from 2012 Kishorn Walcott in the mix too. So Sam, what are your picks for the men's javelin?
Okay, so for my first pick, I'm going with Jakob. I feel like he's been super consistent, especially at the Olympics, the World Championships, Diamond Leagues. Like he's been going crazy. My number 2, I'm going with Julian Weber. If you guys follow Julian on his Instagram, he has some of the best fits. But just besides that, I feel like he's been competing pretty well, and like the stuff that he's been posting on his training stuff, I feel like he's just in really good shape. And then for my number 3, I'm going with Chopra. I know that's kind of low, and I know he's the defending champ, but I don't know, just stats wise, that's what my list is. But you never know, he might pull through again.
So I'm a big social media guy. I run media here at Throws University Garage Strength, and I'm just going to go with the guy who has the most followers. So for those of you that don't know, Neeraj Chopra has the most followers by far of any track athlete in the world on Instagram, over 8 million followers, from all his countrymen in India. So, but let's be real, Chopra is one of the best. Like, he's very consistent. He shows up when he needs to at these major championships. So I'm going to actually have Chopra as winning gold again, doing a repeat. First man to do it since Andreas Thorkildsen. So that'll be super cool. And, then I'm actually going to go back to Anderson Peters. Peters is proven to be an incredible competitor, multiple-time world champion. I just personally love to see a country like Grenada get another Olympic medal. They've mostly been known for sprints, so to see them get an Olympic medal again, in something like the throws is just super cool. Now I'm going to put it as Vadalich for Czechia, and super consistent thrower, clearly one of the top guys in the field. And that's the thing. I think similar to the women's javelin, this is a toss-up. Like so many of these guys, even the men's discus, it's like 1, 2, and 3, you can't really go wrong with anyone in that placing because each of them could perform and win it on the day. But Chopra, Peters, and Vadalich.
Before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to our countryman Curtis Thompson. He will be competing in the javelin. So shout out to Curtis.
Yeah, and we actually have an interview with Curtis coming out that we got from JavFest just last week. So be on the lookout for that interview with Curtis. He's super locked into the Olympics, and we wish him all the best. Now we get into the women's shot put. So Sam has a lot of opinions about this. I also have some opinions about this. Some big players, more 20-meter throwers than we can count. So many women that could just do major things at this competition. One thing to note is, some people that are missing here is like someone like Maggie Ewan. Maggie did not qualify out of the trials, but she has a personal best over 2040. So, these are, and she's been highly consistent on the Diamond League circuit. So, despite missing some of those people, like this is going to be looking to probably will be one of my favorite events because the emotion going into some of the athletes going into this event in particular, expect fireworks. It's going to be super fun to watch. So, Sam, what are your picks for the women's shot put?
Okay, so for gold, I am going with Chase Jackson. I feel like Chase has shown not I feel like she has shown up in, major championships, being the world championship in Eugene and Budapest, so I feel like she's finally going to get that Olympic medal. My number 2, I'm going with Raven Saunders. Raven has been to the Olympics before. She got silver in Tokyo. I feel like what she did at trials was a big statement, and I feel like she's going to keep that energy, and she is going to bring it into the Paris Olympics. For my number 3, I am going with Sarah Mitten. Sarah Mitten, she competed here at GS, and she threw the Canadian record. Seeing that in person was just like a big thing for me, and I feel like she's been super consistent this whole season. So I am going with Sarah as my bronze.
Very, very good picks. So I have very similar picks. They're all the same people, just a different order. He has her going for bronze, but I think it's time for Sarah to take some gold. I know she's a world indoor champion, but I watched her throw over 2060 here. I know what she's capable of, and I think this is going to be the year that Sarah's going to take it. And not only that, I think Canada, at the end of this whole Olympics, is going to walk away with more golds than the United States. So that's a pick right there. And honestly, I'm going to go with Raven in second, similar to you, just because Raven is so locked in mentally that I don't think she cares about what distance has to be thrown. She's going to make the ball go as far as she needs to get another medal. Mm-hmm. I think it wouldn't surprise me if she were to win and take gold, just because she's like got that killer instinct that you just don't see from other throwers. But yeah, I think Raven's going to do whatever it takes, and she's probably going to walk away with a personal best. And just personally, I think it's going to take 20 meters to medal.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's going to take 20 meters to medal at this competition, proving to be one of the best women's shot comps of all time. And then in third place, I can't deny, Chase is super consistent. I think she's going to throw in excess of 2010, 2020. But in this case, I think that's going to get bronze. Last competition, circling back to the very first thing we talked about with the men's shot put in London, we have the men's shot put in Paris at the Olympic Games. This might be considered the main event of throws in track and field for this Olympic Games, mainly because we have 3 potential candidates that could walk away from this Olympics, all breaking the world record. And that is so rare in our sport, especially a throwing sport, that you could see multiple people challenging the world record all at one time. It's so exciting. We have Ryan Krauser, the current world record holder, won the Olympic trials. You don't really have to say much about him. You have Joe Kovacs, one of the winningest medalist of all time in regards to shot putters, has medaled at every championship he's ever been to, and also a 23-meter thrower in his own right. And then you have Fabbri, who is just on fire this year. He just beat Krauser and Joe at the London Diamond League, throwing almost 23 meters. And then we also have someone like Tom Walsh, who's thrown over 22.90. And then we have Peyton Otterdahl, who's also been consistent over 22. We also have Jack O'Gill, who's thrown over 22. Like, if we were to list out how many 22-meter throwers are in this field,
it's insane.
It's crazy. And even by missing someone like Romani or someone like Zane Weir, like, this is probably going to go down as maybe the greatest shot put competition in history of our sport.
Oh, without a doubt.
So, Sam, what are your picks for the men's shot put?
Okay. My number 1, I'm going with the GOAT, Ryan Krauser. I can't put him any lower than number 1. I know that the audience is going to agree with me. I know that you're going to disagree with me, but
I'm going to... No, you know who disagrees with you? You disagree with you. You know why? Because when we posted that part where Joe Kovacs saying he should have beat Krauser by a meter at trials, you were the first one to comment, oh, yeah, no, that's facts. You should have beat him. He definitely
at trials.
Okay.
At trials. Ryan was hurt. Joe should have beat him at trials. I agree with what Joe said 100% at trials. This is the Olympics.
Listen to this guy.
I am not going against the GOAT. Ryan Krauser is my number 1.
Okay.
My number 2, I'm going with Fabbri. I feel like he's just been on a tear. he's just coming off a big victory over some of our top dogs. I feel like it's going to be hard to put him, any lower than Silver. And then my number 3, I'm going with Joe. Honestly, Joe might, give a good fight for that silver, but I can't put him any lower than bronze. Even though, I feel like someone like Peyton could, and is still the dark horse and could medal, I can't put Joe any lower than bronze. So I'm going the GOAT, Ryan Krauser, Fabbri, Joe.
What do you think the chances are that they could do what's happened at the last 2 Olympics where it's been a combat where it was Krauser, Joe, Tom? Because that happened in Rio and Tokyo.
Dude, if Tom was to medal, that would be insane. I feel like that would be the most impressive thing out of everything that would happen.
Really? Okay.
Dude, to beat Fabbri with, how hot he is right now, I feel like would be a big, big feat for Tom. So if that was to happen, like, even if Ryan was to win gold, let's say, like, Ryan and Joe both go over 23 and, like, they go crazy, but Tom got bronze, I feel like that would be the highlight.
What do you think it's going to take to medal?
Well, you're going to have to throw 22 high. I don't think bronze will be 23, but, dude, could you imagine if bronze was 23?
I can imagine it. I think it's something that I never would have thought would be real 10 years ago, but this is where we're at.
I don't know. I would love to
strike that. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I never would have expected that.
Yeah. I would love to see that. I don't know.
Okay, so we're going to go into my picks here, and I got some opinions. So, see this right here? These are Sam's picks. Right here. I'm going to take his picks, flip it on its head. Because you know who's going to walk away with gold around his neck? And with a new world record? He's going to bring this back to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It's our boy Joe Kovacs. And you know this. I'm biased. I'm from Pennsylvania. This is where Garage Strength is located. I'm a shot putter. You know I'm going to be betting on my guy Joe Kovacs. And not only am I going to bet on my guy Joe Kovacs, I bet he's going to take back that world record with him along with that Olympic gold. This is his time. It's his time. It's Joe Kovacs' time. To bring home the gold, finally beat Krauser on the biggest stage. Krauser wants that 3rd Olympic gold. He wants to be the first shot putter to ever walk away with 3 Olympic golds, but Joe Kovacs not going to let that happen.
We'll see.
We know he's in 24-meter shape. We know where he's throwing in his backyard. We know he's hitting the plants. We know his backyard can't contain. We know that backyard's 24 meters long. So I'm going to go with Joe Kovacs. He's going to get it done. He's finally going to figure it out, and he's going to pop the big one that we've known that's been in his body for years, and he's finally going to show the world in Paris. But number 2, and here's an even more unlikely pick that you might not even think I'd do. We're going to do Fabbri over Krauser. Because Fabbri is on fire. He is so consistent. He did it once. He already did it in London. We already know he can beat Krauser. But we also know his technique is probably better than almost anyone right now in terms of how grounded he is on the finish based off the video we saw from Martin Marinch earlier in this video. And I'm also not even going to predict that he's going to get silver, but he's also going to walk away as a 23-meter thrower. And then finally we have Krauser. Krauser's going to have a solid meet. He's going to have a good meet. No,
Right.
honestly, he's going to have a good meet. He's going to throw over 2280. But it's not going to be enough.
I can't get down with
It's not going to be enough because he's going to throw 2280 and he's going to walk away with a bronze medal.
The delusion.
I might be delusional, but you know what? It's exciting for the sport. We need this.
It is
we
exciting.
need the confrontation. We need the controversy because Joe Kovacs said it himself. You saw the interview. That man's throwing 24 meters. He should have beat Krauser by a meter in trials. It's just he had to wait an extra month because it's going to happen in Paris.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I'm taking my GOAT.
Okay. Well, those are our picks for the Paris Olympic Games and the throws. Make sure you put your picks down in the comments below because we want to hear from you. And make sure you watch the next few throw shows as we go through each event as it happens in the games, and we go over our picks. Where are we stacking up? We get to follow along, seeing where our points total. So remember, you're going to score 3 points for gold, 2 points for silver, and 1 point for bronze. Guys, come on. It's the Olympic Games. It's like throwing Christmas. It happens every 4 years. If you want to get better at your own throwing skills, make sure you head over to throwsuniversity.com. You pick up some books, pick up some programs, get a technical analysis. Our boy Sam's Weeks is one of the best coaches in the world to help you improve your technique. Tune into the rest of our videos. You're already in the right place at throwsuniversity.com. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.